지옥의 문이 열렸습니다. 2011 펩시 업앤다운 매치.
All right.
Gotta love that, man.
The up and down matches.
Up. I was wondering, you know, I didn't even see that yesterday, so I was like wondering what Doa was doing. He was doing like the thumbs up, thumbs down thing. I was like, all right, that's a fun little thing you came up with. I didn't understand it. I didn't realize that he saw the Koreans doing it too.
They did it last season also. It's their little thing, and they always show it before the English stream. I thought it was a mistake, but it's actually true. You can notice that our names now say our Twitter IDs. You can follow us both there.
I am Moletrap. With me is Wolf. You can check out our Twitters down there. Please tweet at us.
Please
Tell
tweet
us
at us
who you think is going to win today. Because yesterday, I had some people tweet me, and they're like, you know what? I think Taja's going to upset. I mean, not Taja. Maybe I'm a little Freudian slip there. I think Jakji's going to upset. and he ended up upsetting, so able to give some kudos to those fellows who knew about it ahead of time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, follow us on Twitter and, of course, GomTV's Twitter.
I just want to give some kudos as well to ESV TV. That's, of course, the Icy Cup Weekly. They changed the name to ESV. The winner of that will actually get a Code A spot in November, so that's a pretty big announcement. So just keep that in mind. Yeah.
Ooh, wow.
So another Code A spot for a tournament. Pretty important.
Yeah, you know, I actually...
Mike's, like, having some issues.
I actually heard, like, I don't understand very much Korean yet at all, but I heard Marine King talking about Icy Cup with his coach in the makeup room, so I wonder if he's planning on trying to, I don't know, enter that. I mean, obviously, if he wins today, he doesn't need a Code A spot, but I mean, like, I don't know. It's a big deal to Koreans, actually. A lot of good Koreans are playing in those tournaments, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, so yesterday, if you joined me and Doa, you would, for the entire 5 hours of casting, you would know that Lucira ended up with 5 wins and 2 losses. Jakji with 5 wins and 2 losses. They both advanced. Czech with 4 and 4. MC with 1 and 3, and Kyrix and 0 and 4. Now, if you didn't watch yesterday, you're going, wait a second. How did Lucira play 7 games and Kyrix only play 4? Well, that's because we actually had 2 rounds of tiebreaker matches between Czech, Lucira, and Jakji yesterday.
Yeah, if you guys didn't watch those, definitely go back and tell your friends who haven't watched them to watch the VODs because they were some awesome matches.
They were actually really good.
Here's today's group. You can see StarTail, TricKsteR, and TSL JYP, former teammates, 2 Protosses in this group. And you can even see TricKsteR wearing his old TSL jersey in that photo. It's a pretty intense group, I have to say. I can't really even pick a player out of this group and say, well, I don't know if they have the potential to make it. JYP is one of those newer guys. We haven't seen as much of him, but he's definitely got the potential to make it, I would say.
Yeah, I think JYP he's definitely like the weakest link, but that doesn't mean I'm going to count him out right now. I'm going to almost count him out, but not quite entirely.
He's a very solid player. He's got really good micro. His micro is really impressive, so... we might see some sort of timing attacks from him. Blink Stalker play is really one of those things he likes to do. I mean, I know you guys haven't seen him that much in the GSL, but I've seen him a lot outside of the GSL, and he's a pretty awesome player.
Excellent. Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I remember casting him a little bit in Code A this last season when he did get to the round of 8. Only got to the round of 8. He looked solid. He didn't really impress me, but he looked solid.
Yeah.
I remember he made like a couple mistakes here and there. His macro wasn't the best ever, but... he's definitely a solid player. Yeah. And you know what? Solid play is what it's about sometimes. So.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, we've seen some players play not as solid as they had in the past and slip out of Code S. Marine King is actually in this group.
Oh, excuse me, guys.
Moletrap just got a little bit of a cough. But
I was coughing, but what I was trying to say instead of coughing is that MC and Marine King... played kind of bad and fell down from Code S.
Yeah, we even saw in the past, it was possible MVP fell into Code A. Everyone has that shaky moment in the up and down matches. And, this is Marine King's chance to jump back into Code S, and I think he can do it. If he plays solid today, if he doesn't choke, he should be able to get his spot back. I think he deserves it. Yeah. Despite the fact that he's been doing not as well recently, I think he definitely still deserves a spot. Well,
I mean, here's the thing. Even if he doesn't choke, he still has to actually play better than this guy right here, viOLet, who is also coming down from Code S.
Yeah, now
very strong player.
There's been some controversy about viOLet being on MVP or not, and I don't really know the whole story behind that, but I was actually going to ask you if you knew anything about it, but I noticed viOLet wasn't wearing his MVP shirt. He was wearing just a GOM shirt, so I don't know what that means.
I don't know, man. I heard it as a rumor, and then I dismissed it.
Yeah, that's what happened with me,
and then I saw someone tweeted it that knew what they were talking about, but I don't remember who that was anymore, so I don't know how actually legit that is. I was gonna ask Drewby about it, but I forgot. Drewby's, by the way, for you guys foreign fans, Drewby's actually staying at the GOM house now. He's here in Korea. If you didn't catch him at the Code A qualifiers, Cole Drewby, which is his ID and also his Twitter, actually. Come to think of it. Anyway, but here is TricKsteR.
Yeah. Well, we
saw
missed
TricKsteR
TricKsteR.
for
We
a
didn't talk
second.
about TricKsteR that
I'm
much.
sorry.
We talked about Marine King already, so I'll go back and talk about TricKsteR just a little bit. You know, TricKsteR's one of those players who's always been around. He's one of the most consistent Prodosses. But I have to say, his play as of late warrants a spot in the up and down matches, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it out here today. He's going to have to play extreme low. He's going to have to play top notch to have a chance at getting out of this group. The up and down match groups are so difficult to get out of. If you make just a few mistakes, you're out of there. You just can't keep up with the other players' scores, and you're just done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, TricKsteR and Marine King Prime are kind of in the same category in my mind of players who are capable of a lot and who have just been kind of like not really bringing it lately.
Yeah. Well, Taja, you know, you guys haven't seen that much of him because he only played in the Team League and just got into Code A. Taja's actually someone I feel personally belonged in Code S before he was in Code A. This guy is an awesome player. He's shown his skills time and time again. Even does extremely well on the ladder. Just practices really well. Used to be on ZenX, joined Slayers, and has improved even more since joining Slayers. He's a great player all around, a nice guy as well. He's really nice to meet in person. And this guy, I think, is definitely Code S material. And I think, if anyone, he is the guy who's definitely going to get out of this group.
Yeah, he definitely has a strong shot at it. I mean, he's up and coming, and he's really going to have to, you know, I don't know if he's going to be used to the pressure, is guess what I'm getting at, because if he brings his A game and he really plays his best, yeah, man, he can go ahead and all-kill teams in the Team League. He can play against the top-level players and win, but he's going to have to bring it. And here is, of course, JYP. I've already gotten one tweet defending him. JYP like has a bunch of fans that like swear he's the best player ever.
Well, he is really good, man.
So I just haven't seen enough of him yet to really be impressed. So I don't know. We're gonna see what he's made of today, man. This is his chance to make it into Code S. And once again, he is sitting in the mysterious, magical 5th booth that is not actually behind us.
Yeah, where is that?
I don't know how they do that, man. How do they do that?
How is that possible, actually? I hadn't even considered that.
I think they must tape someone in their booth, like, warming up ahead of time and then
I guess
swap them
possible.
out or something.
That's, like, crazy. I don't know how they would do that. Maybe there's actually, like, an invisible booth that only the players and the camera can see.
I don't know. They show, maybe they show viOLet, and then while they're showing the other 3 players, viOLet gets out of his booth, and JYP gets in the booth and plugs in his own keyboard.
Why are you trying to explain this, man? It's actually just an illusion. You're like trying to get into the intricacies. I wanted there to be a 5th booth. Moletrap, stop ruining my dreams.
Hey, you're the one that spoiled freaking the Easter Bunny for me, man. Don't get me started.
Well, yeah, I did. I was actually the one who spoiled the Easter Bunny for Moletrap, and hopefully I just didn't spoil it for anyone else. And when I say spoiled the Ester Bunny, I didn't mean anything. I don't know what.
Yeah,
I don't know what you guys are thinking. Don't
he's the one that told me about the Easter Bunny being real. That spoiled it
Ruining
for me.
lives everywhere at the
I
GSL.
wasn't sure. It was like I hadn't checked the spoilers yet. I hadn't checked the results to see if the Easter Bunny was real, and Wolf like did a spoiler. Don't you love when people are like, spoiler alert, so and so wins, and you're like, come on, you just like didn't even give me time to close my ears.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, man, I could have sworn I saw the Easter Bunny. I could have sworn he was orange and big, and I told my parents, man, that next morning, I was like, I saw him put the candy in the basket. Oh my God, he's real. Must have been a dream. I don't know, but I saw him. He actually just stops being real after you stop believing in him, but when you believe in him, he is real. Like, he actually did put the candy in there.
You know, sometimes as a kid, well, we'll talk about our childhoods in just a minute, actually, because we're going to get into game number 1 here in just a minute. viOLet on the left, sporting a GOM jersey. TricKsteR on the right, sporting his new StarTale jersey. We're going to find out who is going to take an early lead in the up and down matches here at the GSL. Everything's on the line today.
Everything is. It's the up and down matches. Protoss versus Zerg. TricKsteR, one of the few Protosses left in Code S. Can he stay in? Let's find out at the GSL.
All right, here is our Code S Zerg player. Has fallen down to the up and down matches, but he has come up through the floor.
viOLet. No MVP listed there, so.
Yeah.
This is like one of those times where I found out that TricKsteR was on TSL. I mean, I was no longer on TSL, and it was like really funny. I talked about it on air, and then everyone's like, this is public knowledge. I was like, oh.
And here he is, in fact.
Started! TricKsteR!
Yep.
All right, I'm going to make this joke one more time. Just one more time.
Go for it.
I figured out what that song was about.
Which song?
The song, the little intro song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so what they did is they found out that there was some things in their garden getting their vegetables, and they said, let's get a mole. So
they brought you along.
They wanted to trap a mole. That's what they're singing about. It's all about me. That song is about me.
Trap. You're not a mole. You're a mole trap. You trap moles.
I'm gonna trap moles. So, viOLet and TricKsteR. The Overlord has already seen exactly what TricKster's doing.
And
he's gonna expand up.
He didn't block the hatchery. Just barely didn't get it. It's very unfortunate when that happens. That's something I want to talk about. I mentioned it very briefly during the intro. TricKsteR is one of very few Protosses left in the GSL. MC has fallen. We've got TricKsteR left. We've got Genius left. We've got Hong left. You know, not very many Protosses remain in Code S. And it's funny because I think even at the lowest point for Zerg, there were never this few. I think we've got about 5 left now in total. And if TricKsteR falls out, I think there'll be 4. That's a small number of Protosses in the GSL.
Yeah. Something I want to point out real quick, just looking at some stats on these guys. TricKsteR has got a lot of games under his belt. viOLet doesn't have quite as many to look at, but if you do look at his stats, he's pretty good against Protoss. He's about half and half in his record. You know, he's played some decent players. He beat any pro at some point. He beat Ace. But, you know, it's not like his strongest matchup. viOLet's actually undefeated in Zerg versus Zerg right now, so it's actually too bad for him that there's no other Zergs. And whoa, very quick third hatchery at the top that TricKsteR has no idea about. Anyway, what I was going to get at real quick is just thinking about viOLet. This is actually a crucial game for viOLet because if he loses this, there's 2 Terrans in this group, and he is 1-7 versus Terrans. He's actually horrible at ZVT. So if he doesn't get this win, it's going to be really difficult for him to make it out of the groups.
That's very true. That's a very good point. This is a really important match for him. Taking that fast third, I think, is pretty risky given the situation. I mean, you never know if your opponent's going to do a fast timing attack. You might not have enough units to hold. And basically what I see when I see that fast third is that he is completely prepared. He's been training a lot. He's practiced this build specifically. Yeah. He knows the timings for how many drones he can make. Because he may do something like we've seen players like Zerg do, where you make 3 hatcheries, get that fast third up, and then you just crank out a ton of roaches and just be extremely aggressive as you slowly take the rest of the map. It's a pretty good strategy for Metalopolis.
Yep.
We may end up seeing that very fast +1 weapons coming out for TricKsteR.
And I mean, that's the thing about the Forge Expand is, yeah, you get a very fast expansion, you secure it with just minimal effort, with just a single cannon if you do it right, but then you can't move out for like until 8-9 minutes into the game, you know, at the earliest. So well, I mean, maybe with a couple Zealots, but you can't move out. So you're basically saying, all right, I'm going to get this expansion, but in exchange, Zerg, you can do whatever the flip you want for about 8 minutes. Yeah,
that's exactly true. And speaking of doing whatever he wants, viOLet is droning up heavily. He's already caught up in worker count 34 drones to 35 probes, and is continuing to make more, actually starting Zergling production now. 10 Zerglings on the way, as well as a Roach War, and these Zealots are going to run in here, try to do a little bit of harassment. This Queen should be able to get away, especially with the second Queen there. On creep, Queens kind of fight Zealots, so especially with these Zerglings here. He should be completely fine. May lose a Zergling here too. And in fact, actually not going to lose any Zerglings. Nice Warcraft 3 micro showing through there. Now, that Overlord gets taken out. Did see the gates. So that's pretty big for viOLet. And meanwhile, TricKsteR is hiding a pylon at the natural of the top base. But it looks like these Zerglings are going to scout it from viOLet. Ooh, get a shot of it in a second. There's the pylon. The Zerglings haven't seen it yet. They may end up seeing it on their way back.
We're going to see pretty soon. This Overlord trying to get in to scout. Actually, it may have just been around behind to scout the expansion. He's going to survive for a little bit longer, but is he going to dive in and try and scout some tech? No. It's kind of interesting. We do have the old school Warcraft 3 Pro versus the old school Brood War Pro.
Yeah.
Formerly known as TricKsteR. Was actually, I think, the captain of Eastro. And here he's going to send in some Zealots into that third base. Nothing there to protect it from viOLet. He is making a couple roaches right now, but I don't know if he's going to be able to... He's going to be hard pressed. He's going to be able to stop these Zealots, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, these roaches will pop out at this base over here. He may attack with his drones to try to save the hatchery, but if he does, he's going to lose a lot of those drones. Zealot's going to work very quickly. A little bit of indecisiveness on TricKsteR on what he wants to target here, and in fact, he's actually going to get out without killing very many drones at all. Does kill a roach here, gets a few Zerglings, and a total of 2 drones.
Wow, more Zealots coming in though. This time he is targeting down drones. Well, he was at first, but stopped, so he's just going to kill some more Zerglings. Nice positioning is going to enable him to kill a few more Lings, but
yeah, and this is kind of
altogether not too successful.
This is kind of what I was talking about. If you get the hatchery up with a pretty good timing and you hold it, then suddenly you just have a good economy and a ton of production. You can hold these little pressures really easily while you continue to drone up. Right now the worker count is 52 to 51, so despite having double nexus with the Chrono Boost, he's been able to make units to hold and was able to drone up. He's got better saturation than TricKsteR does right now. The Dark Shrine is going up, Blink is on the way. He's continuing to add sentries, and it looks like he is going to lose this northern position up here at this pylon. Just not enough units to defend. And viOLet's looking pretty strong. 14 drones in production as an infestation pit is starting.
Ooh, that is actually... That's pretty huge because those 14 drones, he feels secure enough to make those 14 drones. And basically, like, he can make a few more drones, but that means he's going to be at about what he needs to really just start pumping off of 3 bases.
3 DTs being warped in, and you're exactly right. You know what's interesting about this is viOLet actually wasn't able to scout Twilight Council tech at all, and yet still was able to make spores at each and every one of his bases to prepare for these DTs. He has a spore at his main, his natural, and his third base.
Nice.
And he's going to be able to hold this.
DTs are going in at the expansion, though, while some Zerglings come in to attack.
Oh no, is he going to get the spore?
The DT at the expansion of viOLet is killing the Spore Crawler. There's no Spore Crawler there anymore. I don't know if there's an Overseer.
An Overseer is morphing in the main, but he's not going to be able to have that in multiple locations at once. And there's a DT at the third, which could kill the Queen. So he's going to get that
doing
Queen.
Battle there, but no, it's not enough. The DT just takes it out. He's going for the drones, but the Spore Crawler is there, and the roaches are going to save that.
Nice save by viOLet. DTs actually could have done a little bit more damage if he had just controlled them probably, but I don't think he expected viOLet to be out of position as much as he was. Now, third base is going up for TricKsteR. He's got a nice little wall off going up there to help hold that. He's going to really need to power up a little bit more. He's adding tons of gateways. It looks like he's gone up to about 8. Needs to really start catching up in supply. He's already down 20. His opponent's got a better worker count. He's getting a 4th base. So TricKsteR is going to have to make some sort of damage happen here pretty soon.
Ooh, a sneaky DT could really just dive in at the wrong moment. Once viOLet attacks, he'll know that the army is out of position. He'll be able to go in and kill drones at that second base. That's going to be big later on if he doesn't realize it. But some infestors are out. Another couple gates over at the side.
And here comes the DT doing some harassment.
And that's not going to last too long. Gets a few drones, though. Not bad.
Yeah, not too bad. Always the threat of the DTs allows TricKsteR to hold his third base very easily, make the units stay at home. Robotic support bay on the way, +2 weapons. He's continuing to make DTs just to control the map. I really like that. Right now for upgrades, viOLet's already got 1-1, whereas of course TricKsteR just has +1-1 himself. And you got that Twilight Council a little bit later, started the +2.
Yeah, that 1-1 is going to be really helpful for those Zerglings against the Zealots. if they do have to engage. Of course, the Roaches are the real Zealot killers.
And
but he has
so
a lot
are
of lings,
Infestors,
so
man. Infestors are Zealot killers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Gotta watch out for those guys.
Bring the Overseer along as well.
Fungal's the Observer there. Gonna use 2 Fungals on that. Not sure if that's actually warranted, but
Yeah,
gets for the Observer. Now the army is, it's a big mystery. Doesn't know if it's moving out or not.
I just made another Observer so you could send it out if you wanted to, but yeah, Thermal Lance is on the way now as well. He's gunning his first Colossus at the moment, and that's going to be pretty good against the Ling army that viOLet has right now. I mean, he's got some Roaches, but he's mostly just running around with a lot of Zerglings and Infestors to support.
Yeah, he's going to really rely on these Infestors. He's trying to break up here, but of course there's intense wall off. There's 2 cannons there as well. He's going to have to engage this just right. There's a lot of cannons here. Great force fields by TricKsteR. Infested Terrans being dropped to breach the force fields, but will they do enough damage? Roach is not really engaging here. More cannons finishing for TricKsteR. He's doing a great job to hold this, but there's so many Infested Terrans coming from the left side of the Nexus.
Oh, and he's just going to target down the Nexus, I think. I don't know if he's going to be able to kill them off in time. Yes, he will.
Yeah,
well,
the Colossus helping out so much here. He will be able to clean that up. viOLet's Infested Terrans don't get the +1 weapon upgrade that the Zerglings get, so he's not able to, use that upgrade to his advantage, whereas TricKsteR, of course, shuts those Infested Terrans on very quickly.
viOLet just made 50 more Zerglings, though. He is not done being aggressive yet, and you're right. He's gotten a 4th base, and he's like, all right, you know what? That's all the bases I need. From now on, it's just attack.
Exactly. This is a really common Zerg style, especially on Metalopolis. I like that viOLet is making a macro hatchery.
God,
16 Mutalisks.
I think he already made a couple, too. I think that might be close to 20 mutas.
21 mutas in total will be out. There's a huge switch, just completely sacking the Infestor tech, not making any more Infestors. Keeping alive the ones that he had. He didn't really lose any in that fight, but
yeah, he still got them all right there.
I love that he's making this Mutalisk switch, because even though his opponent has a heavy Stalker army, he still has a very mobile Mutalisk force that he can use there at close air positions.
Yeah.
And the more Colossi TricKsteR makes, the stronger those mutas are going to become.
Because basically, if TricKsteR moves out of his base, 25 mutas end up in his main, just killing all of his tech buildings.
And the Infestors can slow down the army, do all sorts of things to harass TricKsteR as well. So it's a really good composition by viOLet.
He's making more. Oh my god, he's going to have like 30 Mutalisks.
Yeah, and he's, just switching to this so quickly. Now, TricKsteR is making photon cannons at home, but fortunately, they're not going to be up in time. These probes are going to go down so quickly.
And I think he's just going to target down the Nexus.
Yeah, he can just do that. The Stalkers are going to blink up here, taking a lot of damage on that Nexus. Is he going to go for it? Nope, decides to get away.
Doesn't want to engage the Stalkers, but here's the thing again. TricKsteR has to keep the Stalkers back now. See, here's his Sentries and his Colossi falling back now. He can't move out with the threat of those Mutalisks right now.
A lot of Zerglings in the middle of the map attacking, drawing the army away yet again. Now viOLet may decide to go in and target down that Nexus because it's very low on hit points. And with the additional mutas you were talking about, he's going to have so many, but the Stalkers blink under the mutas. I think viOLet has enough, and viOLet realizes this. He's going to trade here pretty effectively against these Stalkers. And, most Zergs would have just run away, but viOLet says, no, I'm sorry, I just have enough mutas to beat this army.
He's doing a really good job of spreading, but actually, with the next warp-in of Stalkers, that is going to drive him away.
Does get driven away, but that was a pretty decent trade for how many mutas he ended up losing. Is not that many. He kept the Stalker count lower, so if he continues to make mutas, it's going to get out of control. Greater Spire's on the way as Storm and Neural Parasite begin to finish.
Yeah, Neural Parasite finishing is going to be a big deal because he's got all those Infestors. They all have good energy now. And there's Colossus. If he takes over those Colossus, it's going to be a huge deal. In fact,
he just needs to hold this attack.
Maybe necessary to hold this attack. Those Colossus are going to eat his Lings so fast if he doesn't. Here he goes in. Neural Parasite's not finished yet. He's forced to engage. He fungals everything, drops down a ton of Infested Terrans. The Muta's engaging as well, and that may just be the damage he needs to actually hold this off. The Lings are all dead, but the Mutas are going to clean up, and it looks like he's going to hold.
Yeah, I think this is the exact same reason why we saw him attack those Stalkers earlier, was so they could keep the Stalker count low. All the rest of his units, the Infestors, would buy him enough time. Then once he had enough, once the Stalkers attacked, the Mutas would just clean up everything else. He wouldn't really need that many Corruptors for the Colossi. And in fact, he's making 11 more Corruptors. Why? Because, not because of the Colossi, but because his Greater Spire is finishing.
Yeah.
It's going to get pretty nasty after that.
So Nigus target firing by TricKsteR, by the way, at the end there, using his last Colossus to finish off most of those Infestors, so they won't play a role in the next battle unless he makes more. But that's 8 Broodlords. 9 Broodlords morphing now. That is actually really scary.
That is really scary, and he's got tons more Corruptors to support as well. TricKsteR trying to remax here, but just cannot keep up with the production of viOLet. You know, he's warping in Zealots, which are going to be basically useless in this case, but I mean, he has to warp in Zealots because there are a lot of Zerglings. It's just he can't keep up with the production. He can't make as many units as viOLet can, as quickly as viOLet can.
You know what I think has been something that TricKsteR might have lost the game as a result of is he has not harassed viOLet at all. He like sent those Zealots into the third at the beginning of the game. He hasn't done anything else since then. He hasn't tried to harass with Stalkers. He hasn't tried to like send in DTs. And viOLet's been relatively well defended against that, but you gotta do some kind of harassment. You can't just let the Zerg just sit there and macro.
Yeah, and you're right. You didn't do really any timing attacks or anything like that. The Stalkers are going to blink under the Broodlords, but that's not even going to be close to enough. viOLet is going to crush through this army. Broodlings and Zerglings killing Archons. That's a sight to see. And even morphing Broodlords literally in the middle of the battlefield here. That's how ahead viOLet is at this point. Archons running away from Mutalisks.
It's a sad day when the Archons have to run from Mutalisks, but he does indeed. The Probes are having to run away as well. Broodlord's just raining down death upon the Protoss army, and TricKsteR has nothing to respond to this. There are actually more Broodlords than there are Stalkers right now. Then when that's the case, you can't just blink underneath them. There are actually so many Broodlords there. That is disgusting. The gold base goes down, and TricKsteR is only barely mining right now.
He's going to have a total of 14 Broodlords. The Stalker count is 15. There's an Archon and 2 Immortals lurking around as well. But he's going to start losing these gateways so quickly. And viOLet doesn't even have air upgrades. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, man.
Doesn't make a bit of difference.
And, you know, TricKsteR's trying to hold on here. But I can't imagine a world in which he could hold this and then somehow even be able to re-macro. He's lost his gold base. He's almost out of money at his third. He's completely mined out his natural and his main.
I can't imagine a world where Immortals are a good choice to go for, but he does go in. Oh, and he neural parasites the Immortals. The Immortals tearing the Stalkers a new one, and GG, TricKsteR has lost the first game.
Those Immortals were actually, they were already evil inside. They didn't need neural parasites. They actually were just like, I'm going to come out here so I can help. I can help viOLet kill Stalkers.
Why did he?
It was like he was trying to switch over to Immortals, despite the fact that the Roaches had stopped being produced a while before. So I thought that was a little bit of a weird choice by TricKsteR.
Yeah, that's
maybe he predicted that there would be more Roaches to...
The only thing I can think of is that he said, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, I need units as fast as possible, and an Immortal will pop out faster than a Corruptor, Colossus.
Yeah, that or the fact that he thought that perhaps, you know, Roaches are often used as a reinforcing unit because they're just so beefy.
True.
And so he might have thought, well, after this attack has kind of failed, he might just crank out Roaches to try to kill me.
But yeah, viOLet kept TricKsteR back the entire game. After he got like his 3 bases going, he just kept on that pressure, and TricKsteR was never able to get out and do any kind of harassment, any kind of counter harassment. Like the DTs did like a little damage.
Yeah,
they
and
killed
totally
like 5
killed
or 6 drones.
Yeah, and totally killed about 11 workers with the Zealots and the DTs combined.
Yeah, and that's really easy to replace for the Zerg. And then he didn't then he just stopped. Now I did see that viOLet had like a few Roaches and an Overseer at one of his bases, so that was good.
He had some Speedlings at every base
but
as well.
But he could have done something.
Well, what I would have liked to see would have been more aggression from that very same pylon. Maybe hiding the Zealots a little bit longer, then warping in a few more units and attacking. Sure, it's a little bit more high risk, but there's a lot more reward to that. And when you scout your opponent having a third base that early, you kind of have to put on some pressure like that.
If he'd waited for 8 Zealots, he probably could have just targeted the hatchery down.
Absolutely.
Or something like that. That would have been something to do. But, yeah, man.
It turns out he didn't.
When he was turtling, I feel like he could have gone out and tried to do something. I don't know. I don't know what he could have done, though, because viOLet just controlled that game all the way through.
viOLet just smacked him down, man.
So viOLet goes up 1-0. TricKsteR is down to 0-1. And next up is going to be MKP, Ranking Prime, formerly Boxer, known as Foxer because he's the fake boxer. And he's going to be playing against Slayer's Tasia.
Yeah, Slayer's Tasia, I think the favorite to definitely get out of this group. He's one of the best players in the world. You struggled a little bit against Ganji and Kode. So, you know, his TVT, that was the most recent TVT we've seen of him, but Ganji had really weird and specific builds to crush Teja.
Yeah.
And as we were discussing about that series, we were like, well, we think that Ganji knew that Teja was better than him, so he did weird timing attacks and all-ins and just beat Teja that way. Anyway, we're going to watch Marine King versus Teja on Belshire Beach. Stay tuned for the up and down match.